Hello friends and happy holidays. It's Terry with Terry's Mailbox, and today I'm presenting for the Funky Junkie Boutique. So I've got another tag, another etc. tag I always do. This one has lots of layers on it. So again, I'll walk you through how I created all the different layers. So I'm using the department store stamp set. This was one of my favorites of the new release. I'm also using vignette frames, and as you can see, the background is actually the packaging from the vignette frames that I'm going to use for this. So again, what I'm doing is I'm pulling that packaging, and then I'm using Tart Cranberry Mica Distress spray. And so, again, it's a matter of, just inking and drying and dipping. And, again, I just kind of sprayed the spray on my craft mat. And you can see here that I'm just kind of working on the layers and kind of trying to make sure that it's completely dry. And then the next thing I'm going to do is move on to the frame. So I pulled my picket fence paint dauber, and I'm using that to just apply a layer of paint on the frame. And again, I'm not wanting it to be too heavy or anything. By the way, you'll see a red arrow at the lower right-hand section of your screen. I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel. So back to the background here, I'm using that music stamp from the department store. Love how they give you all kinds of different images. And I'm just adding archival ink and just stamping it. And I'll be honest with you, in the end, you're not going to see that all that much because I covered it up with the wreath. So I pulled the wreath out here, and I'm going to mount that in my stamping platform, and I'm going to stamp it with Hickory Smoke Distress ink, because I'm going to paint over it, and then in the end I'm going to go back and stamp it on top with archival. So it's important that you leave the stamp in the stamp platform so that it goes right back over the lines. You want to make sure that you have good clean lines. So again, I'm doing a couple of images because I need to color a couple of images. So again, you can see here I've used some of the fresh balsam mica. I used tree lot. And again, just kind of coloring in all the different pieces. And then I went back, and this is the Tart Cranberry again. And you can see I'm just using a watercolor brush, have a little spray of the mica spray on my craft mat that I'm using to go ahead and color. And you can see I'm coloring both images exactly the same, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut out some leaves in the bow, and I'm gonna layer them. So again, there is the final. You can really see that shine there as I move it in the light, which is cool. So I've got several images here, and so I'm going to go back and then pull my archival ink and stamp it. So again, I'm kind of putting it back in the stamping platform, and I'm going to show you the difference with the when you stamp the top layer and when you don't have it stamped. So it really does add much more detail onto this wreath. So again, there is the one with the archival ink on top, and you can see that there's the one on the right that is just the painted one, and it, the painting kind of obliterates the details. So again, this is one way to go back and get great detail. So again, I fussy cut out a whole bunch of different, different things here. Some of the leaves I'm going to pop up. I've got the bow sitting there, and I'm actually adding foam tape. So I've had to trim my foam tape to make it, nice and skinny, so that I can pop up that bow. And I did see one or two of Tim's makers had done their wreath this way, and I was so impressed by it that I just, I really needed to go back and do that. So again, I've got a few of the leaves cut out as well, and I'll go ahead and pop those up. And then in the end, I ended up, just kind of inking around the perimeter, because again, when you fussy cut, you kind of get the white cardstock showing through. And then the other thing I do is I'm going to just add glossy accents to the top of the berries to kind of make them nice and shiny. So again, still just kind of inking my pieces here, and then I will get them all put together. Again, the ink on the edges really adds a nice touch. So again, I'm foam taping and just adding a little bit of glue to be sure I get good adhesion here. Isn't this a happy wreath? It's just, I love this thing. I just think this turned out so nice with the mica sprays. Very fun. Okay, so I'm back to the frame, and I decided to add some of the foundry wax, and again, it's gilded that I'm putting on there to kind of give it a little gold sparkle. So again, just kind of using my finger and rubbing it on. Goes on top of that white very nicely, and just kind of really makes it, gives it a gold pop. And then I will heat it. I don't know, maybe I didn't have a really thick enough coat on there. It didn't gold up as much as I'd hoped, but that's okay. That's absolutely okay. So again, just kind of finishing, got the corners. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my heat tool and, just kind of heat it up. Like I said, it didn't gild up as much as I, thought it would, but that's okay. I went with it. I absolutely went with it. So there is my frame, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my collage medium and attach that to the back of that vignette frame, and then the wreath's going to go on top. And then, of course, I have another whole tag to do, so we're not done yet. Now I'm going to work on the tag. So I use the mini etc. tag, and I cut out a piece of the Distress Heavyweight. And so what I'm doing now is doing my ink smooshing technique. So again, this is bundled sage, old paper, and shabby shutters. That tends to be one of my favorite color combinations. Again, it's just kind of a soft and muted green. And you can see here that, again, I'm rubbing it in the ink. I'm going to add some more ink so I get, really get the colors on there. So this is your opportunity for inky fingers. Once you add the water, you want to run your fingers through there so that you get the breakup of the inks. Because again, I didn't want a solid background. So then I'm using that pine cone stencil, which is a new one from Stampers Anonymous. I love this. So what I did was I sprayed the Fresh Balsam mica spray on there, and so again I wiped off the edges so that I would not get the thick edge lines. I really was only interested in having having the stencil show there. So again, I'm still just kind of working, pushing it down to make sure that I get that background colored. Next thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing Walnut Stain and the Rustic Wilderness are the two colors that I'm going to use. And you can see here that I'm coloring in the pine cones as well as the leaves, just using a blending brush. So I really like the way this one turned out. I just, I've used this actually on a couple other things since then because I just really was impressed by the look that you got using the stencil. Just too much fun, just way too much fun doing this stuff. So again, still just kind of adding the, the dark color here. This is the Rustic Wilderness that I'm making sure I get good coverage. So too much fun. Wow, look at that. I'm real pleased with the way this turned out. I just think that's really gorgeous. I did end up stitching around the edges, and the other thing I did was I pulled out that Fresh Balsam mica spray and I kind of flicked. I don't have much luck getting drips coming out of the spray part, so I always end up pulling the tube out and just flicking with that, and it works very well. So then I went back and I'm adding just kind of going around the edge here with Walnut Stain, which kind of darkens it. So again, it just kind of adds to the adds to the color and the grunginess of it. Next thing I did was I gold heat embossed Merry Christmas from that set onto a tag. This is one of the, the tag sets from Tim Holtz and Sizzix. And so what I'm doing now is I'm running, just kind of dripping the gilded foundry wax around the perimeter, and I'm going to get a nice gold barrier there. I thought it turned out really nice because it kind of popped up a little bit, and it was almost looked like one continuous line. So again, I thought that added a nice extra texture to that tag. So I love to watch the foundry wax when you pull your heat tool out and heat it up. It just really, you can just kind of see it go gold and go bright. Foundry wax is fun stuff to play with. So again, here I am just kind of, heating it up. And so there is the finished tag. And so here I have all my pieces here. So again, I'm using the collage medium to attach that tart cranberry piece onto the vignette frame. And so I had to put a little weight on it. And you can see there's extra stamps on there besides just the music, but like I say, in the end, you really don't see them at all. So I'm gonna set that aside, put some weight on it, and ultimately it will go on that tag with the wreath. Still kind of playing with it, and that sentiment goes down there at the bottom. So I ended up centering that and adding some foam tape underneath it to pop it up and make sure that it was stable. So the next thing I did, I stitched around the perimeter of the tag. Now I pulled out that little tooly thing. I don't know what that's called, but anyway, it's a tool from Tim Holtz, and again, you can kind of rough up the edges. And so then I went back and added additional ink onto the edges after I roughed them up, because then they were white again. So here I am just grabbing my walnut stain and just kind of covering up the white parts that I ended up pulling up. Love this grungy look, just really love it. So the next thing I did is I pulled out my collage medium and my collage brush, and I am putting it on the tag. And then I'll go ahead and attach that tag, matching up the hole and the sides and everything. And I'll go ahead and just press down, make sure that I get good adhesion of the tag to tag, I guess I should say. Created some bows with just some ribbon. And the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and attach that frame, and you can see I went ahead and glued the wreath on there, and then also the sentiment. And as I said, I popped up, I added foam tape behind the bottom of the wreath and the top of the sentiment to make sure that it stayed somewhat flat. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put this on the tag, and I wanted to put it up high enough that you could still see the stencil part at the bottom. So again, here is my tag again. Again, it's Terry with Terry's Mailbox. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blogger. Would love to have you follow me. Happy holidays.